Hello there and welcome back to Painting with Martin. Today we're back with another and the last one of Star Wars Battle of Hoth painting series, and we're going to take a look at one of the last but also one of the most iconic figures in the series, namely the Rebel Trooper. And this is the scenario book that I have in front of you, just to show you what it actually looks like. And we're going to aim to have it look something like this on the character art. So I'm keeping this one nearby just to say that this is what I'm aiming for. Now, when it comes to moving this one a little bit forward, this is what you're aiming to have it look like when you have it already. And I'm going to be using mostly speed paints from Army Painter here, but I'm also going to offer you several alternatives if you don't have that painting range. So the first thing we could do, what I've done is I've actually spray painted and primed a miniature looking like this using Lahmiam white matte primer, and it's a very basic matte primer. You can use a brushed on primer as well. I've just found it a lot easier with the spray can because I'm batch painting these and I'm painting about 30 of them. So as you can see here, a lot of them are in various stages of progress. So this is what it looks like. So the first thing we're going to do here, very similar to the the snowtroopers in the series, that we're going to coat everything here with a coat of Nuln oil, but just to make sure that it's not too thick, this is Nuln oil, and I'm going to simply dilute it slightly with a bit of Lahmiam medium over here as well. So I'm going to simply pour. No, I'm not going to pour. I'm going to take a brush, an old brush here, and simply taking out 1-2 brushfuls of Nuln oil, and then I'm going to take simply 1 brushful of medium here, using the back of the paint. See if it works. A few drops, because you don't get full brushfuls with this one. But approximately 50-50 ratio, and then mix them together as such, like this, and then applying it over the entire miniature, not leaving anything. But I would actually like to point out that the goggles up here, I'm trying not to cover them totally. So in this case, this is what it looks like. And I want to, of course, focus on all the nooks and crannies of the miniature here. And this gives us a basic guide of where to apply the next paints when it comes to both highlights and washes afterwards. I'm also taking great care also not to cover the face of this miniature, because we're going to it needs to be white or at least dark light in order for you to apply the speed paint, or if you're using Citadel's contrast range also. So as such, something like this. Now the goggles here, I'm going to use a damp brush and I'm simply soaking up the goggles here, making sure that they're just briefly touched as such. And you want to make sure it doesn't pool in the recess. You want to make sure it pools in the recesses, not in the flat surface areas. And you're going to leave it to dry for a good hour or 2. Now that's that. Cleaning my brush is always a good thing to do. And this is what it actually looks like when it's done, looking like this. Now afterwards, I can see here now that I didn't really, and yeah, exactly. Now the thing is, it's a little bit too dark. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do a heavy dry brush, and we're going to paint it with just white. This is Vallejo white. I'm going to put it out here on my palette a little bit, and we're going to do a heavy dry brush. And heavy dry brush means we're taking our dry brush, or you can use an oil brush as well, soaking it into the paint, wiping it off most of the paint on a piece of paper here, and then you're simply going to dab it across the upper areas, the face, making sure that it's the upper areas of the gun. Now also I want to paint the legs as such, and there is a reason for that. And this is kind of like a basic zenithal highlight that I'm doing. Applying some of also the top of the backpack here will be good, as well as the some of the areas here where the gun are. So I'm leaving a lot of the recesses here are covered in this Nuln oil, and it's looking a lot better right now already. As such, so this one done, and then it is going to look very similar to this one up here, like this. What we are going to do next is we're going to apply the skin tone. Skin tone is going to be Crusader skin from Army Painter Speed Range series. But if you don't have access to that, or if you seem to prefer an additional, like a more traditional approach, you can use any kind of like skin color you want. You want a darker one, you can go for, or you can simply use Kislev flesh, or simply Vallejo's flesh, or simply Acadian flesh tone, or something similar. Now I'm using this one here, and I'm applying it liberally across the entire facial areas here. It's looking fairly dark already, but I wanted to pull in the recesses, and this is the only skin tone that you will actually show in the miniature, and that's it, because the rest is simply covered with gloves and garments. Now this one is done, leaving this one aside, and this is what it looks like when it's already done. I've already covered these ones up, so you don't have to wait for drying times and things like that. The rest thing, what we're going to do next is we're going to cover the legs as well as the gun. So let's start with the legs, and the legs we are going to use a color called, if I have it here somewhere, Gravelord Grey. Gravelord, yeah, I think it's Gravelord. Yes, Gravelord Grey from Army Painter Speedpaint series, to simulate a very like dark grey effect as per the card art. Now, if you don't have that, you can dilute a little bit of Mechanic Standard Grey, or simply use Celestra Grey possibly, or even Administratum Grey if you want a little bit of like the bluish colour. And what we're doing here, we're covering the entire sections here as well. Now, around, it's very important to do around the knee pads. We don't want them in this color at all, but all the shoes, leggings, and behind the knee pads as well is going to be covered in this one. Now, important here, he has a gun holster here. So important here that you actually, I'm going to take off my glasses so I can see this. You can actually see up here, there's a little section here, and there's another section here, because he's covering like the holster here and the little strap here. Just between, there's a strap here, and there is the knee pad here as well. So make sure that you get this one. And if you do cover them, you can just go back, cover them with a little bit of white. And also in between here, there's a little bit of section, as well as up here behind. Can be a little bit tricky to get to, but it gives you a very nice coverage once you're done with it. Don't forget the inner side here as well, and underneath the crotch. And as such, we're done. Now, put it down a little bit too soon, because we also need the gun. And for the gun, I've chosen to paint it using a mix of two paints. This is actually non-speed painting. So German Grey and Chainmail from Vallejo, game color and model color, mixed in about 50-50. And it gives you a nice variant of the gun. So with the gun here, like this, taking care not to touch the glove, which will be in another color. Hopefully you can see this. A little bit of section here where the magazine is loaded. And also underneath the glove here, it's also with the magazine, or the stock of the gun as well. Turning it up around so you get all these nice details. And turning it on the other side, having a trusty handle here that is really useful from Redgrass Gaming. I've showed it to you in a number of other videos. and I really, it's one of my favorite tools when I use when it comes to painting. And if you get a little bit of white or like this color on his like a snow camouflage, you can cover it up later. Here you have the sidearm, blaster pistol, and you have the handle, and of course you also have the end of it, like the barrel here underneath. Keep in mind that the holster will be kept white as well. Now don't forget that you have undersides here, and also in this color you have a little thing here on the back side, on the backpack. You have this one here, and also in the backpack you have this thing here as well that I'm choosing to cover in black, or in this color, dark color here. Now this one is this one, and we're going to put it down here for a second, and we're going to go up to the next stage, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's all done. I've also painted some additional stuff here in the back. You can do so if you want to at your own leisure. This is what it looks like, almost looking quite nice, but we got a few things to do already. We need to paint the gloves, and the gloves are greyish in a color, but not as grey as the pants. So I've chosen to use a new kind of color that I haven't really used before, but it's called Holy White Speedpaint by Army Painter, giving it a really good shake, and it has metal bore inside here and ball bearing. It makes it sure that it really mixes really well. I mixed it in here off camera a little bit with my wet palette, and that means if you don't have this one, Celestra Grey would be really good as well for this one. And for this one here, you just cover these ones here, and you have just the gloves here, and also this section up here as well. Now when it comes to, and that's the only color you use for this one. Now when it comes to the kind of like a scarf and other sections, is that you are simply going to move up over here, and this is what it looks like when it's done, like this. Already looking quite nice. So what we want here for the scarf and the headpiece, as well as some of the sections here, we are going to, this is what it looks like. Okay, go back to this one again. We are going to take a 50-50 mix of Vallejo's Ivory, as well as a little bit of deck tan, to simulate an effect of kind of like this creamy color that you see in the movies. So, and because you don't want it entirely white, I served it in Alpine unit when I did my compulsory military service, and it was quite useful, because you realize that all these white camouflage pieces you see in movies, they're not pure white. They're simply going to be quite dirty after a while, and that's why I'm choosing this ivory color, because it kind of simulates a nice effect. So what are we doing here next is applying it neat, and I'm applying it here on the elbow section, as well as also from the top of the head here, as well as also the scarf around here, as well as also the brim of the hat here, the headpiece. Same thing here, going back here, and that's it. You can also do this one with the shoulder, the knee pads, like this, as such. And if you want to, you can also cover this one with the straps here. Only entirely optional if you want it to be slightly better looking, as well as also the holster here. So looking much better. Cleaning my brush in between, and now we are off to looking at what it looks like when it's done, which I should have showed you before. This is what it looks like this. Now, you can, if you want to, use a little bit of Nuln oil mixed in, which we used the Nuln oil shade before, and shade this area slightly like this, and as such, as well as this area here, if you think it's too white. The same thing goes for any other piece as well. I'm also going to shade this one up here as well a little bit more. Now, one of the most iconic pieces in this series is of course the goggles, and for the goggles we are going to use a speed paint called Plasmatic Bolt from Army Painter. You can use something like for Citadel you can use something like Warpstone Glow if you want to, or Waywatcher Green Waywatcher Green glaze if you want to. So a little bit like this. Just a tiny drop is needed, not really much. So you do it like this. And it looks like this. All right. Now, if you want some metal effects, as you can, then before I forget it as well, we also have some kind of like tunic colors up here and here, which is going to be painted in a color called Pallid Bone from Speedpaint as well. And you can just use Acrylic Earth Shade if you want this one for Citadel, just to give it a little bit of a different color. And because in the box art you actually have that it has a little bit of a brownish color here as well, and it actually makes the entire figure looks really, really nice and cool. So as such, like this, just the top here, looking this like this. Now you also have a little pouch down here, and for that pouch I've chosen to use a slightly stronger tone, and that means I'm using a color called, let's see here if I have it, I think it was called hardwood. Hardened leather. Sorry, from the Army Painter Speed Paint series. And for this one, if you don't have this one, you can use Mornfing Brown as well, which would be perfectly fine and acceptable. And this one here, this is the pouch down here, as such, like this. Now, I'm simply leaving the white simply almost from the primer here, but if you want to cover it up with pure white here as well, you can entirely optional do so. I'm leaving it here a little bit dirty just for the sake of it. Now for the gun, and I'm going to use a small highlight, and the highlight is going to be Chainmail from Vallejo. You can use Stormhose Silver or something else or Runefang Steel or something like that. Even Lead Belcher would be fine from the Citadel range. And here I'm going to touch up the, let's see if I can get my glasses off. Here I'm going to touch up the end of the blaster here with this one, as well as also the iron sights. And you can also use this one here, dab it up on top of here as you see fit. Just to give it a little bit slightly more details. You can also use this for the pipes here or the tubes or whatever you want to call it here on top. As such, like this. And also I'm touching it up here a little bit on the blasters up here as per the movies, as for the inside as well, as such, like this. Now if you want to add some optional details at this stage, you can choose to do so. It's entirely optional, but for these stages you should go back to, this is entirely optional. Now we're adding ranks. Now in this case we're using Mephiston Red from Citadel. It's not a speed paint. And then we're also going to use something like a blue one, which is going to be magic blue or royal blue from Vallejo. In this case I'm using magic blue. And you just need a tiny dab on the left hand shoulder here. And for this one I'm switching to a very fine tipped brush, a new one. So you just use a tiny dab. For this section here. And you just use it as such, hopefully you can see it. One dab there. You can make it a little bit bigger if you want. Yeah, like this. And then right next to it, you do the red one. Unfortunately, I shook the paint pot while it was still slightly open. And then here, just right next to it, like this. Now, I have no idea in terms of Star Wars what these actually means in terms of ranks, but I do know in the movies they actually used pill cases from medicines because they were so on such a low budget that they actually used these ones. You can see this across all movies, and you can actually see the little pills there in blue and red on all ranks, both Imperial and the Rebel Alliance as well. So this is what it looks like when it's done. You can, if you want to, have a small highlight here of white if you want to. Prefer the dirty look. And of course, please see my video for using snow effects, which I just uploaded. And you can use this one for the base as well. Otherwise, this is a quick and fairly easy way of how to paint the Rebel Troopers from Star Wars Battle of Hoth, published by Days of Wonder Games. So if you like this video, please don't hesitate to subscribe to my channel so you can learn more how to paint your miniatures. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and please like and share it to others who want to see how to paint these miniatures and others like this. So otherwise, thank you very much for watching and have a wonderful day.